All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the How Can I Help My Child series. If you are here, you are highly welcomed to the series. All right, today we are looking at how the role of books. Sorry about that. Today we're looking at the role of books or the role of reading books, what that the role that books play in building productive teenagers who will become leaders and impact makers. This is what we are looking at today. Today's readers are said to be tomorrow's leaders. My name is Maribeth Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources. And yes, I am the proud matron of the Mastermind Circle and, of course, the host of the How Can I Help My Child series. My job in this series is to answer the questions that parents ask on how they can make their parenting journey even better. Because I work with preteens and young children, because I am a, a coach, I am a mentor, I am an educator, I am a motivation expert, and a child support guru. I get these questions from parents all the time. How can I help my child, or how can I support my child to achieve this? How can I support my child to achieve that? And so instead of answering this question with, one by one, instead of us answering these questions over and over again, we decided to put a show together where we can answer these questions. And as many parents that have the same challenges or have these questions, hovering in their head you know, can get the tips and the tools that they need on their journey. But we also know that the tips are not enough. Okay, I can tell you this for free, that tips that you get are not enough. All right, the strategies that we give you, okay, are not, there could be much more than what we share in this group. Oh, not cool. There is definitely much more than what we share here. There is definitely much more than what you do, because you have resource for, one off questioning or one off experience. There is the need to be in communities where your experiences, where you are constantly sharing experiences with other parents who are walking this journey, people with higher knowledge. There is a need for communities like that for you as a parent. I belong to a robust one. And so send me a DM and I will recommend to you. All right. I belong to an inner circle that is solid. And that is because we still do not do parenting alone. It still takes a village to parent a child, it still takes a village to raise a child. And in this world that we are today, as things are today, if you raise your child alone, it will be tantamount to raising your child in your room, okay, and you want that child to survive in a global village. It is not productive. Your children also need to be in communities where they can be with like minds, where they can be with children who share similar values as the ones that you are working so hard to step down to your children. See, we live in a world right now that dysfunctionality has taken the front stage, where you say something that is right and you are looked at as the outcasts. And then people who share dysfunctional beliefs and narratives are meant to be cool or seen to be cool. Sometimes just go on social media and look at the comment section, you will cry. So if these are the people with these narratives, the children of people who have these convictions and narratives, if these are the only people that your children are encountering, then there is trouble. You want to put your children in communities, in programs where there are other children like them. So your children will see that, oh, besides my neighbors or my classmates or the people that I see every day who think in a certain way, there are children who go to bed at 8 o'clock. Many of them, as a matter of fact, There are children who read books, many of them who read it with audacity. There are children who do the right thing and they do it joyously. They need to be in communities like this so that they understand that it is right. All right, so I think I have my guest in the house today. As I said, I'm not sharing the stage alone today. I'm going to have, I have the one of the most resourceful people, okay, as far as mentors and coaches and young adults go. Our children need mentors. They need people to look up to. Okay, so I have Coach Chiodozie. We love to call him Coach D. And I think Coach D has mentored my son the longest. Of all the people that have mentored him, Coach D has mentored him the longest. And I say, if we don't put people in front of our children that our children can look up to, that our children can see as models, then we are not doing right, especially for our boys. All right, so I'm going to be bringing Coach D on stage right now, and we will be having the conversation. What is it that our teenagers should be doing right now? All right, Coach D, it's good to have you here. Good morning. I feel
Morning, Coach
powerful that
Ambi.
I dragged you out at 8:30 in the morning. All
That
right.
is a lot of power. I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Coach D. If you are in the house, I don't know, where are my people? If you are here, please don't just stay in the background, say something in the comment section. If you're catching the replay, also let us know that you are here or you were here and let us know where you're joining us from. This show is a very short show. We come in here and we do this for between 15 and 30 minutes. And that's because we want to put in your mind the children and what we need to do for them, even as you drive to work or you go about your morning duty, so that it's not something that comes up. I mean, you think of what do I do with the kids sometime later in the day. We want it to be right there before you, as soon as you wake up in the morning. So yes, this is your morning tonic, and welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, why don't you go ahead and click and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you know whenever we come on live, and you can be a part of the show, and you can also enjoy of all the great resources that we have on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. Tag a friend, tag that friend. See, if you are doing this journey alone, sure, you are doing intentional parenting, you are trying your best, you are doing it alone. The people in your circle are not doing this with you. Grandma isn't. Your sisters are not. Your brothers are not. Your children's besties, their parents are not, and everything. You weary yourself because it is going to be like this. Your child is confused. You're saying one thing, every other person around him is speaking another language. Okay, so don't do this alone. Please bring as many people, not because we need the numbers, that is fine anyway, but because you need the right tribe, you need the right support system, you need effective support system, people doing this journey with you effectively. All right, so Koji, I'm going to go straight into the crux of the matter. Today we've been talking about books, we've been talking about reading, and those who follow me, who know me, know that I'm so big, I'm so big on children, encountering book. I said, when should your child meet book? Okay. So yesterday we had someone who works with younger children. And she actually said our children should meet books, they should encounter books, they should experience books as soon as they are born. That's when they should experience books. Yet we have teenagers who haven't still experienced books. Right? We have teenagers who haven't experienced book. We have parents who will say to you when you say to them, buy a book, he doesn't like to read. I beg. Book reading is not his thing. So somewhere at the back of their minds, I think some of our parents think that reading book is a hobby, one of those things that your child could catch or not catch. What do you think that books or reading books should be for a preteen that we're raising to become teenagers in the next few years? Please share with us, sir.
Hmm. Okay, I lost you for a moment there, so you might want to repeat that question.
Oh, so
Can you
sorry
take it
about
again
that.
so I hear you?
All right,
Yeah.
good. So I was saying that usually, when you talk to the coaches and teachers of younger children, they say children should encounter books as soon as possible. Yet we have
Yeah, sure.
teenagers that their parents will say to us, book is not his thing. Reading books is not his thing. I mean, because of that, I don't buy books. So I am asking, should books be an option? Because now it's beginning to sound like it's a hobby. It's like playing basketball, and we can say, oh, basketball is his thing, or basketball isn't his thing, or something like that. So should reading books for leisure, reading books as a way of life, should it be an optional thing for your preteen who's going to be a teenager, and for that person that you're raising to be, whatever it is? What are the things you should be looking at if you want to raise children who will be successful, or whatever it is that parents want today? You know what parents want, isn't it? So should this be an option, and what should they be doing if they want to achieve the things they want?
My answer,
We
my
want.
answer is going to sound very strange. My answer is going to sound very strange, and that
I know.
answer is yes. Actually, it can be an option if you decide that. But the follow up question is if you decide that knowledge is an option. So
Mm,
if you decide
mm,
that knowledge
mm.
should be an option,
Reading is
then
an
of course,
option
yeah,
if you decide that knowledge is an option. I catch.
decide
I,
that
I
knowledge is
caught
an
that.
option. You cannot do reading is an option. But here's one of the reasons that that conversation can be advanced is I think we're having a conversation a few days earlier, and then we're talking about why young people should be reading more of educational books. But then
Mm,
I chipped in and I said, excuse me, reading in itself is educational. So I don't understand what you mean by educational books.
mm,
Every kind of reading educates you in one
mm,
form or another. Every kind of reading, whether you pick up a newspaper, even if you pick up a drawing book, it's educational. Like it's just pictures. It is educational. So yes, if reading is optional, if you think that knowledge is optional, then to speak to the other thing you mentioned about my child is not the reading type and all of those things. One of the things I'm increasingly becoming aware of is that all of these things we call types and my thing and it's not my thing, all of those are learned attributes, right? A child is
mm,
was pretty much born here, tabula rasa, like we like to say, and
mhm,
parenting culture determines what we call likes and dislikes. I was speaking to this again some time ago when we
mm,
talk about preferences. Nobody is born to this world with certain kinds of preference. We learn our preferences. We learn our differences. We learn even insecurities. There are so many things that we don't realize unconsciously that they were learned.
mm.
We think we were born with these
Yeah.
things. They were learned, and so you have to consciously decide. So you learned them unconsciously. You now have to consciously decide to unlearn. So if I speak to adults and I say, you see, no matter what you claim your parents did to you or the adults in your life failed to do, the moment you became an adult, you got a responsibility to begin the undoing process if they were wrong, or begin the
Mhm,
reinforcement process if they were correct. Okay, so you've been handed the life that you've been handed. Our generation has a responsibility to reparent ourselves and then create
mhm,
a better landing for those that we are raising. So back to the conversation about reading. Reading is an option if you decide that knowledge is an option. But one of my favorite quotes is that wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of your time. So if you also decide that stability is an option for you, then the drill. That's the way I see it. Every young person should be exposed to an environment of learning, of books. And when you called me yesterday, I was doing some kind of quick mentoring for a young man, and I was
mm.
telling him that I'm intrigued that this generation has everything so easy, easier than every other generation before it. Yet they do the
Yes.
least quality of work. They do the
Mm,
least quality of work because they really have very little investment of time in the learning process. You
Mm.
know, so now you can put together whatever you want to put together and call it educational material. Now you have access to all manner of educational materials. You have uh, when I was growing up, I didn't hear anything about audiobooks. I didn't know that
Mm.
there was it could be possible. Okay, now you have audiobooks, you have ebooks, you have what are all those things? Different kind of books. There are so many. So young people should be put in those environments where they learn, so that if you say this is not my thing, we really need to question what exactly is your thing. Is it that it is
Your
not
thing.
it is learning that is not your thing, or because so start reading. That's my point. Expose a young person. The reason why a teenager is struggling with reading is that they struggled with it, or nobody showed them or pointed them in that direction. What is that thing that we
Yes.
like to say? Train up a child in the way that he should go, and then when he's old, he's not going
Mm-hmm.
to depart from it. I was telling that
Which
young
way is
man
it?
yesterday. I told him how that my father will give you a book that is probably 300 page and tell you to give summary in 7 days time. You will do it. You will do it. Let's not get into the details, but you will do it.
There's
And then
no,
you will
there's
come back.
no, there's no gist.
There's no gist about it. You will do it. Okay, so and then you do that. Over time, it becomes your culture. It becomes your
Mm.
culture to sit down and read books. So different kind of books. So it mustn't be, like I said, maths, English, chemistry, biology, and all of those kind of things. Read sports. I have a problem though, but read that. Read documentaries, read biographies, read success stories, read all manner of things. And in the different genres of literature that you can expose a child to, it's inside that you can begin to say, okay, I'm drawn more to read this kind of materials than these other kind of materials. But
Exactly.
generally developing that culture of reading is a responsibility that we have, and for the good of the generation that we are raising, we have to do
Mm.
it.
Hmm. Particularly for the good of the generation that we are raising. Thank you, Coach D.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was getting you. In fact, you nailed the next question I was going to ask you, because when you said that very little, this generation is investing very little time into learning, reading, and all of that. So I was going to ask you what role parents play in how much time this generation is investing in learning. I mean, you added the fact that your father will hand you a book and say, give me a summary. So basically, your father practically decided what you should invest your time doing. Because if I
Mhm.
hand you a 300 and something page book, invariably have said to you, you have work to do for an
You're
hour or
busy.
two every day.
You're busy.
So you're busy. So your father has definitely structured a part of your day directly or indirectly. So what things, I mean, that's one thing you've already shared. What other thing do you think parents can do to ensure that we help these children invest in the majors, the things that are important, that they invest? Because it's not as if they are not busy. That's another thing. They are just
Mm.
busy doing all the wrong things, because they are
My
the
mother
ones
will
who
say
are
you're busy
tired
doing
in the
nothing.
They're busy doing nothing, right? Yes. So just like your dad, what other ways do you think parents can point children to being busy in the right way? Because we know these things now about teenagers. I work more with preteens and young children. So I know these ones are still a bit young, and somehow you can still say, oh yeah, sit, and they will sit. But by the time these children become teenagers, if we've not invested enough of pointing them to what they should spend their time doing as little children and as preteens, it will come back and backfire. So, what can we advise parents to start doing like your father did for you?
Environment. That's the
Hmm.
word. Environment. I said it that way so that somebody, if you forget everything I said, you won't forget that I said environment. Environment
Hmm.
is a critical factor and so the responsibility of the parent is to create that environment, curate that environment. Those are two things: create an environment, curate an environment, and nurture an environment where your child is exposed to. So those that look into the psychologies of success and things like that will tell you something like that. Some of the most critical components of success will be knowledge, will be practice, okay, doing the things that you learn. But when they subdivide it, they tell you that the biggest component of success is the environment in which you do all of those things. Knowledge is about 10% and all of those kind of things. But environment. So what do I mean? If I walk into your house and your TV stand is the biggest component of your sitting room, that environment is faulty. That environment is faulty. If you're trying to raise a child who will read and there is no bookshelf anywhere in the house, you may be saying something with your mouth, but your environment is communicating an entire different message, and the environment will win. Okay, so if you come into if you're raising a child and a teenager for that matter, your environment should communicate the kind of ideals you want that child to model. Okay, where are the bookshelves? Where are the libraries? You know, you have all this money to buy all these gadgets. I was talking to a parent in the week and we're discussing the price of PS5 and what it will cost to buy one and things like that. And I'm like, I'm not against PS5. By all means, buy it. Okay. But don't come back and tell me that you don't have money for one resource. The next resource I'm going to mention, don't suggest that that one is now too expensive. Don't suggest it. Okay. Because if you do, then I know where your priorities lie. So create that environment. Create a lot of books, and let your children also see you read. Let your children also see you. So I give an example about my dad. He will give you that book and ask you to read. But on Sunday, when everybody's at home, when I was growing up, I don't know whether it still happens now. There is this if you buy the Daily Guardian, that Guardian newspaper, if you buy the Sunday edition of the Guardian, it usually has a center column called Children's Guardian. And there will be a lot of articles for young people and things like that. So my dad will sit in, he has a home office, and then he sits in his office, he invites you to come around. He bought the Sunday Guardian. So you sit down, Sunday Guardian is probably 50, 60 pages long and stuff like that. Then he pulls out the center and gives to you. While he's reading, you're reading. So at the end of that, you're going to review that Children's Guardian. Sunday, that it was like a Sunday ritual. So it leads me to something else I'm going to say. So create a ritual in your house. Play all the game you want, do any other thing you want, but create a ritual that intentionally points a young person in the direction you want them to go. You can't say one thing with your mouth and do an entirely different thing in action and expect the one you said to prevail. It will not. So if parents are asking what to do, create an environment. Environment at home. Environment. I heard you when I joined this session where you were talking about, if you're trying to raise a child and your child's bestie's parent is doing something else. So there's also that whole social environment thing. Why are all your best friends party mongers? And then you're trying to raise a child who will read. Okay, so you're probably just the lone voice preaching or advancing that message amongst like these other authority figures. And parents must be conscious enough to realize who authority figures are. Authority figures are not people who actually directly speak to your child. It's that if they fall anywhere within the space of influence, within the circle of influence, where that child can see what they do. So your child must have told you one time that Ekene's father did something, and Ada's mother did something else. They know what's going on within the environment. So you also want to check your social space. There was that proverb that we usually say that it takes a village to raise a child. So who are your village people? Who are your village people?
Who are your village people?
Your village people will come after you and your parenting plan. All right, so that I think that answers your question.
Exactly. Your village people will come against you and your parenting plan. So who are your village people? Very, very key, Coach D. So Coach D, we have a program that we run in the academy. It's called a 30-day book challenge. Now, this 30-day book challenge is to get the children, reading for 30 days, right? And for us, it's not about the numbers. So we don't insist that you must read 30 books or 20 books and all of that. We give you category, I mean, we give you category of books because we want you to touch on, I mean, let the challenge be what introduces you to, going off your regular. Go try. I heard you say it's in introducing them to different genres of books and all of that. That's, why they look or they read this, they are able to say, okay, this one is, what appeals to me more and all of that. So that's the whole idea in the challenge, that the children get to like meet different genre of books. Okay, they also get to stay in there, read something, even if it's for 10 minutes, 15 or 30 minutes, every day, just because we know that with consistency, right, we are able to move children who are probably zero readers of books. So we've done that. We've done that over the years. In the last two challenges, we've had children who came in and their parents said they don't like books, they don't read book and all of that. And during the period, at the end of the challenge, these children were so excited, and that became, how they started reading books. So what is the place of motivation? What is the place of motivation, in getting your children to read? Now that, we're hoping that parents now see why their preteens should start reading. What is the place of motivation in it? Because for our program, the brain behind it is, or the strategy is using motivation. And so the fun activities that we have for these younger children, right? The fun activities, I mean, you can't even begin to, I tell people, you can't begin to piece in your head what we mean when we say the fun activities, because we have stretched and gone beyond, when that comes. So for your teenagers, for parents who are teenage parents, I mean, parents of teenagers who are on this call or who will be catching the replay, what can you use as motivation to get your 15-year-old, your 16-year-old, that's one that may not be excited, by our kind of motivation right now, because you have waited too long. What do you think these parents can use to motivate them to read? For older
Oh,
kids
okay.
now, teenagers and
Uh,
all that, what can
um,
we use to motivate them to read?
I can think of a
I
few
think Coach
things.
D is first.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yes, I
hear
can
me?
hear you
Please
now.
confirm that you can hear me. All right, cool.
Yes, I
I can
can.
think of a few things that might motivate a teenager to go ahead and read, but um, every individual is different. One of the things I like to encourage parents to do is that, okay, let's assume we're having this conversation because you didn't start on time. It will be important to get the teenagers
Yeah.
involved in the process. It will be important to get the teenagers involved in the process. So, what are you trying to achieve? I'm speaking from the perspective of a teenager now. Let's even excuse me. Let's use the PS5 example that I gave. So, if you read, it's called positive reinforcement, right? If you read this number of chapters or this number of pages at the end of this, then you get access to this kind of privilege. But that's just the most basic. I really do not point young people in the direction of screens and video games and stuff like that. I rather use physical experiences. So the holiday is around the corner, and I think this year has an unusually long holiday. So there are a number of activities that you can fit into certain um, maybe weekends or something for your teenager. Give them a physical experience. Give them a hangout. Give them um, even a movie experience. Okay, um, wildlife experience. Depending on the city where you live, there are certain things that are available
Mhm.
and not available. Okay, so give them an experience of a place to go. We can do this. We can buy this. Maybe there's that gift that they have been wishing to have. There's something that you can afford to get them that they have been longing to. Okay, let it be the prize. Okay, let it be the prize.
Mhm.
For the joy that was set before him endured the cross. I don't even know what that reading is a cross, but then you know. But you get, so that's it. But I like the idea of
Ah, Yes.
I like the idea of a 30-day reading challenge, and I perfectly like the idea. It's how you will reinforce or even build from scratch a reading habit for your child. You know, exposing a young person to that wide variety of information. I think maybe because our time is gone, but permit me to chip in that across generations, if you observe, attention span has greatly reduced. Even as
Mm,
adults, you realize that you had a greater attention span when you were younger than today, because culture also has an influence in all of these things. Instagram has conditioned all of us into thinking that you can learn something in 30 seconds, because
mm.
that's the duration of a reel, or I think the longest reel is about 90 seconds, which is YouTube Shorts or so.
I
So
know, right?
that thing unknowingly has conditioned a lot of persons to think that you can actually get serious information in 90 seconds. So it has eroded the discipline of learning. So if you put your child in a system that encourages them with their peers to do a 30-day marathon, you don't want to know how much shift you're making in the mind of that child. And so I can go on and talk about all of the benefits that that exercise is going to bring to that young person. But I want to encourage everybody that's listening to take advantage of that to help your child. I was listening to Warren Buffett, one of his speeches last night, and he was saying something that you really in this generation there's you just need to work a little harder, because 90%, 95% of the population are not going to do it. You know that more than 90% of the people are doing the basics. So you want to teach your child to just move the needle a little bit above the basics if you want to get extraordinary results. What is it that we say? The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that you have to be willing to do the extra. So I encourage everybody, 30 days reading challenge. That's something that you should jump on if you're looking to help your young person build a reading habit. It's very, very important. Yeah. Use any motivation that you can think of to
Mm,
motivate that young person and get them there. Thank you, Coach
mm.
Envy.
Wow, thank you so much, Coach G's. With you is always deep insight. Just look at how we have just unraveled so much wisdom in 30 minutes. All right. I was talking to to Miss Kosi yesterday, and she said in her classroom, I wanted an educator that's fully in the classroom to speak. She said in her
Mm,
classroom, when she comes up with concepts, or she comes up with trying to analyze a situation or a chapter or something, she finds out that the children who come from homes where they read always have higher knowledge kind of insight. The children
yeah.
always employ higher thinking into creating
Yeah.
solutions. Why the
Yeah.
ones that you can tell not go this extra mile? You will see them never seeing. You're pointing at something and they are shouting, Miss Kosi, I can't see it. I can't see it because they are
There's no
not
frame of
having
reference.
their knowledge. Do you understand? It's
There's no frame of
basic.
reference.
And exactly. And you know that thing you just said about Warren Buffett? It is so true. All we as in everybody wants to do the basic. Everybody. And you know how how will I put that? How worrisome it is right now. Because everybody wants to do the basic. If you even try to do a little extra, they
Little
don't leave
bit
you with your
extra.
extra. They will still come for basic. They will come at you and come for you because you're trying to do the extra. So we need to get our children to start doing the extra so early that it becomes second nature, and nobody can tackle them with this because they are already grounded in what it is that they know. This is why you see your teenager, you have tried, the teenager is doing well. He gets amongst his friends, and after 1 week, 2 weeks back in school, everything disappears because the child is not grounded, the child is not sitting rock solid, in that conviction or whatever it is, because every time these things are superficial. We're doing it for the moment. We are using the real
Mhm,
effects, the TikTok and real
mhm.
effect, to think that we can teach deep, we can teach deep knowledge, and wisdom in a matter of short time. So that's why they come to programs. Parents come to programs, they are with you, and then after 3 months, 6 months, they are shouting, I can't see any results, coach, and nothing is happening. The child has been, I'm sure you know this too in your programs, Coach D. I mean, I do. I'm in the mastermind circle, and we have this where parents come in 3 months, 4 months. Oh, he doesn't do his thing by himself. I'm tired. I'm just going to leave him. I'm like, you're leaving him for what? Exactly. You are leaving the child for what? I think it's that whole programming. Everything is the real and TikTok effect. We think the moment you do it for 1 month, the hand is it. So we need to invest more in the process. That's what I can hear you say, Coach D. Invest more in the process.
Yeah.
Believe in the systems and believe in whatever it is that your children are doing. And this is why we have this not for 2 days, not for 5 days, but for 30 days. We have all of the motivations left, right, and center because we know that motivation comes from doing an activity with a sense of satisfaction. So I use that formula every time. An activity plus a sense of satisfaction would actually lead to motivation. All right. That's why we make them parents agree with the children at the beginning of the challenge. When I go 30 days, then what? So we have that already sitting. That's a big prize the child is looking at first of all. Okay. And then every day is a motivation on its own. Thank you so much for being on the program today, Coach D. We've gone 6 minutes extra.
My pleasure.
So I'm going to ask you to give us a word if you have any.
Okay,
let
me final words. I'll take us back to the first things I said. So reading is optional if you think that knowledge is optional, and if you think that stability is if you think that stability is optional for the life of your young person, if you want to set the stage for them to do a little better than their peers, get them reading, build a culture, build an environment that encourages them to read. So I guess that's where we will stop for today. Thank you very much for having me, Coach MB. It's been a pleasure coming here this morning. And shout out to everybody in the audience section. Thank you for joining us as well.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a pleasure having you. So reading is an option. It's not if you think that knowledge and stability are both, optional, then reading for you would be an option. If it is not, then get books into your children's hands already. If you'd like to be a part of the challenge is just 3,500 naira, and I will be with your child for 30 days for just 3,500. Koji, how much is that? 1 naira per day? Is it 10 naira?
100 naira per day.
How much? 100 naira per day. Just look at that. All right. So 100 naira can even buy reasonable biscuits. Yes. So it can't even buy reasonable biscuits. Yes, we will be with your child powerfully for 1 naira every day. So that should tell you it's not about the money. It's about having more children internalize or cultivate this habit. So enroll your child to be a part of this. In fact, yesterday it was $2.99 because we had a flash sale the whole of yesterday. A lot of you did not take advantage of it, but now we still have the early bird price and you can jump in immediately. This is just for a few days also. The real cost of this challenge is 10,000 naira, and I promise you what you have here, you even give me 10,000 naira and you'll be glad you did. But no, don't pay 10,000. Pay 3,500 naira today and be a part of this. All right, you have the information scrolling on your screen right now. You can screen grab it and use that to, make payments. You can make payments on Seller or you can pay directly into our account. Thank you so much, Coach D. It was such a pleasure to have you here, sir. Have a fantastic day. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, and of course, hurry up and grab a place for your child. There are going to be certificates at the end of the challenge. There's going to be hand holding. There's going to be accountability, and all of that. So thank you for being here today. If you're catching the replay, let us know that you did. Thank you very much, and bye. Bye, everyone.